Okay, we are back. So we have a wheel and it pops up and nothing happens. So we need two things. I noticed this thing, I forgot to do a multiply. We want to make sure we build -1. That we build our sections. Without the -1, it builds this way, and we want to build it this way. So that's why it's a -1. So we need a selection FSM now, and this needs an event, and we'll call it go. And in this guy, once we're activating everything, send event, put it above the activate, selection, go. So he'll turn on. Now when this guy turns on, we need to get FSM vector 2. We want menu position. And I think we need something else too, but let's just go down here and get FSM vector 2 again from the manager, current mouse position. We need a vector 2 operator, and we take the menu position, subtract mouse position, we store a direction every frame, we normalize direction every frame, we get vector from the direction, we need to store the X and the Y every frame. We need to get to 10.2, bring that down. We'll get the X, the Y. Now we have an angle every frame. Okay, let's just shrink those. Now we need to float add. I'm going to add to that angle a -90 every frame, but not every second. And then to deal with the discrepancy in it is if angle is equal to 45 with a 45 tolerance, we need to swap it. And a swap is going to be this exact same thing, but on this side we're going to add -450, and if this is less than -360, we'll swap it. And now we should have, we're over here, and we come along and we come down over here to deal with this little section, and we go back over there. Okay, it's working. So Now we need to get FSM float, and we need from the manager, we need I think we need this 2-set rotation. Let's just wait a second. Okay, so we take this thing. Now, we don't want to deal with negative stuff. So after the compare, make sure it's after, we want to absolute. Okay. Now, oh, that's the other thing we need. We need get FSM int. That's what we need. From the manager, the array length is length. Now we need to, we also need an angle, because we need to divide that by an angle, which the angle is what, 360? Yeah, is the 2-set rotation. So we do need this. All right. So now we take this angle, and we divide the divider. Is that right? That might not be right. So we take the angle, divide by the divider. Okay, one sec. Let's just do a quick test. All right, so we take the angle and divider. Right, so if we're over here, no, we don't divide by the divider. We're going to divide by the length first. No, okay, one sec. Let's just take a look, see what I divided it by. I was doing this earlier, I was playing with it. Selection angle, which I think, yeah, it was just that, by the angle. Which one's the angle in this scenario? Right. That's what it was. Right. We don't need that. We need a float operator, which takes 360 divided by the length, and that can be our divider. Okay. So now we should have more or less a very small float. right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all that fun stuff. But we don't want to deal with floats, so we need a float to int. Yeah, well, I don't want to deal with this test variable either. So I'm just going to delete that test because it's ugly. So selection float, and we're rounding down, and this is going to be final selection. Alright, so let's copy those last two actions underneath that float AB and paste. And so our final selection, if we take that guy and put him in the input, we should now see that when we click, we're at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Okay. Now let's make another one called highlight. And this guy also needs something to tell him to go. And he needs to get FSM int from selection, the final selection, and that's that, and float, oh, int changed. So current selection, it has changed. So what we do when we have a change is we need to get FSM array. So I'm actually going to put this actually over here. Oop. Didn't mean to do that. Is there we go. And let's get drag this guy over here. So from the manager, the current sections, we need a place to store that, which is an array. Current sections, and it's a game object array. So we're going to copy those values, and then we need to array get, oh my god, fingers going nuts here. So current sections we need to loop, and we need a done. We need a current. We need a array index. So now, if we get all that, we need to loop, and we need a done. The done can just go back to the change. So the loop, however, once it's looping, we need to int compare. So the array index to the current selection, if they're equal, activate If it's anything else, deactivate. Activate and deactivate. So now, what is activate? We need to set color. On current to green. And let's set scale, because that's just a nice little added bonus. Also on the current to 1.1, 1.1, 1.1. Copy everything, paste it down here, and if we're on a deactivate, oh, these need to go to the loop. Then we just go to the white and scales of ones. So if the value changes from us moving our mouse around, we are going to run through all of the items, and if that item is of the right one, we're going to highlight it, or we're going to unhighlight it. So you know what we should do to make sure this is set properly is I need 2 of these states. I don't need a changed, but I do need a finished. Doesn't need to be every frame. So we get an array, we get that. We'll run through this and then come back to here. Okay, so that should now give us the ability and we need a way to turn it on. Can't forget about that. We need to tell it to go. So let's do that in here. Let's just put it here. Let's go send event. Game object to the highlight to go. So now we have, all of a sudden now we can highlight things, move things around. See, pretty fancy. They're not even actual real buttons, but it works, don't it? If I come over here, now the issue is, see how it stops highlighting? So that's due to this guy obviously keeps adding on to that array. So the other thing we need to do is on this guy, because this guy doesn't deal with the array, right? He's just values. But this guy does deal with arrays. So he needs a way to clear. Oh, geez. And clear is array clear and array resize. So we are going to take this array, clear it, take this array, resize to 0. Now in here, we can, if we're going to destroy stuff, is send event to ourselves, to the highlight, to clear. Now, we have that, we move away. Oh, we still have an issue. Let's see what happened. Let's see, did he clear? I don't think he actually resized. Yeah, he didn't resize. Or did he resize and this one didn't resize? Dun dun dun. All right, because this guy, let's also current sections. There we go. Pretty fancy. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, what the hell? What about actually clicking on stuff? What about sending events? What does this do? How does this deal with farming? Well, now, say we wanted, over here, we wanted to build, say, wheat or something. We click on that. How do we transport that to actually building the little wheat farm or plant or whatever we're doing, right? So this guy is doing the activation. This guy's doing checking for clothes. So get mouse button down. And if it's left, we have once again clicked. Well, if we've clicked, what do we need to do? Get FSM int from the selection, final selection, store this as send selection. Now, what if we have on this guy a integer selection get int get event int selection. Okay, so now we're going to get that. We're going to set event int data with that value, send event to, and just to make the this part easy, so now we do that. And then we tell it to do its destroy thing. Okay, so now if I look at this guy, we have currently no selection. So if I select this one, he's saying I want 3, right? I want 4, I want 1, I want 0, I want 2. Okay, so now we've transported all the information we have from here in options up into our UI we have a nice little mouse wheel selection, which we can click on a selection, fire it back, telling this guy what we want. Right? The thing now is, what is it that we want, right? So, okay, so we have stuff, and it's an icon. Now we could make another array of, say, plants. And this guy, we'll stick him over here, and we'll make him that same size. And we're going to try to line these things up, because once this guy gets this, we want to create a plant, I guess you could say, and we want it to go where we want it to go. And there's going to be definitely some steps towards that, right? So for example, let's go with number 1. Let's find a wheat-like thing or something. Okay, let's use this. We're going to go with this kind of weird berry looking thing, and over here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our farming. We're going to find a prefab plant. And we're going to create our, maybe this will be our tomato plant. I don't even know how to spell tomato. I think I spelled it right. So let's find a tomato plant. So here we have, those are onions and stuff. I think that's a peach. Bell peppers. Cherries. Could have sworn they have like a nice little plant system here. So we have, let's just look up tomato. That's probably the easiest thing we could do, huh? Yeah, I probably didn't spell it right. But there we have tomato. All right, now we can select that. So here we have, if that's him, and say that's the full grown, and maybe we'll take this one and this one. All right, now let's call this one, let's call him 2, let's call him 1, no, let's call him 0, let's call him 1. And let's deactivate those. So this is our starting plant. And this will be our plant prefab. And he needs a box collider. And the most important thing about this guy is he needs this box collider to be sitting at a decent spot. Well, not really, but now I'm going to make him big. And here we have a plant. Now I'm going to prefab this for now, but we have obviously some work to do for him if he needs to actually grow and do things. So where is my farm folder? Oh yeah. So terrain. So there we go. Let's put this guy here. Now we would need a int switch. Selection, and this is going to be, I'll say 5 long. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and well, that one's 5. So 0, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So all we need to do now is set game object, the selected plant with array get plants at selection. Oh yeah, I guess I can just do that, eh? Well, that'll make it easier. Okay, so if I get that, I store that into selected plant. Let's just get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. Now let's drag him over here. Now we can get rid of those. We don't need the switch. Get rid of the switch. Screw the switch. So we're going to get that, get the tomato plant, and then, now this is where the magic happens though, is we then need to create, we need to mouse pick point. Let's go here, 200, layer mask is only going to be 1. We just want the terrain for this portion. Well, possibly. Store point, hit position, every frame. Create selected plant. No, let's move him back down here. And set position of the created plant to hit position world every frame. All right, so there's the first portion. All right, so now I select my plant, I have a plant, and I can now do something with it, right? How much time have we got? A little bit of time. So there is something that we really want to do with this guy. Is I want 2 materials. a bad, and a good. And good can be, say, green with some transparency. And this one can also be, oh, that one can be red. Good, bad, and then we have the normal. So now what we need is FSM, and this FSM we're going to actually create a custom action, and it's going to be very simple, nothing crazy. Is if we have an action, actually I don't even know if I have it right now, if not I'll have to get it, is get overlap box. Right? Such a cool action. So this is what we're going to do, is I am going to right click on it and say edit script. And it will open up. And I'm going to walk you right through this, so it'll be super easy. And I'm taking everything and I'm copying and I'm closing it. And I'm going to go to PlayMaker and I'm going to go Custom Action Wizard, and we're going to call this one Planter or something. You can name it anything you want. It's important to remember the name and the spelling of the name, though, because the very first thing we got to do is adjust that. All right, so okay, so close that. Now we should have Planter somewhere. So this is an empty action, and I'm going to highlight everything and paste the other one into it over top of everything. Right? So this is literally the other action. It does absolutely nothing else. But this name, public class, is where you got to change that name. So this is Planter. Now, the other thing this thing needs is this action. The whole reason why we're doing, actually I'm going to get rid of the gizmos. We're not going to need it. Is this thing has a bunch of information that happens in it from other stuff. So we want a public material good. That guy, public material bad. And then we will do a public, actually I think it already has one, so we don't have to worry about that, I think. So we have good and bad. So this guy here, he runs a thing just called overlap box, and he does this big check. Okay, cool, but it only does it once. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing the modification, is if we do a public override update then just say get overlap box. Oh, get overlap game object. I can just copy that actually. Ba-doop. Now this is happening every frame. So this has layer masks and all sorts of fun stuff, and we don't need to worry about any of that. So if, okay, so this guy here, is if coal's dot length is greater than 0, so this whole line here is we've hit something. Okay, so if we hit something, then we need to set the material to bad. So we need a this one could just be a mesh, not what, a render, or my renderer. Okay, so my renderer dot material equals bad. And then down over here where that kind of links, else my renderer dot material equal good. The other thing we need, it needs that. We don't need the events. Well, it can stay there. I was going to delete it, but big whoop. All right. We should have a bool here as well, but I think it already has one in the base, so let's just leave it like that. So what we're going to do is, that was called plant. So now all of a sudden we give it a bad material, a good material, and we have a layer masks, which can be everything but not include owner. So we don't want it right at the start. So the owner of this, because we're going to be setting the material to it, is, say, this guy, the very first one. The array doesn't really matter. It's kind of there as a thing. And it's a game object array, but we have to sort because that's what it wants. Yeah, but it has no bool. So we do need to add a bool to it. So I just right click and went back into it real quick. And here we have public FSM bool is good. So here is good equals false. Up here is good equals true. Yeah, okay. There we go. So now the box size and all that. So now if this thing were to connect with anything, it should alter its colors. But in the beginning, the other thing we need is, I'm going to pull in its renderer. Oh, this thing's got 2 elements. Interesting. So I am going to get material from this guy I guess we could do that. I mean, we almost should do an array. And get rid of that for now. So we have a normal material, we have a good material, and a bad material. And then the other thing is we need to get component, unless there's an action for this. I don't know if there is or not. Not that worried about it though. I drag that box collider right in there. So I'm going to get the component of the box collider. In fact, I'll rename that. So we're going to get component of the box collider. Now we're going to get property of box collider, and it's the size vector 3, store as size, and box size is now size. Get position every frame. This needs to go up higher, and from position. Okay, so let's just see how that kind of looks. So if I now drag little Mr. Tomato plant in here, and we create, I don't know, say another cube, and we hit play, Mr. Tomato plant is not doing anything. So he's got the size, the array is empty. Uh-oh. We're not having good luck with this. Well, I'll have to take a look at that. But I think we've had, yeah, we're pretty much out of time. So we'll continue on from there anyways. And we're going to have it so when this guy's created, we can't go into colliders. I'll look at a few options here. I'll play around with the box casting as well, even though I typically don't have any luck with the box casting itself. But yes, anyways, and then maybe we'll even snap these things to a bit of a grid too. And then once they're actually planted, we'll be able to plant things around. Then we need to actually do the growing and the harvesting of them. So we'll do that soon. Okay.